welcome in for a Week 10 episode of UFL Insiders. Today, I'm joined with a few contributors from the network, and then Cullen Watkins is supposed to join us as well to try to help break down that Roughnecks and Memphis game. It was a pretty eventful weekend this past weekend for games. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and they really didn't let up for it being Week 10. And some of these teams knew they didn't have a season left. They didn't really have anything to play for except film and more stats. So they showed up, showed out. Greatly enjoyed it. Coming in, not sure about next week's for the show. I'll be doing some traveling, and then I'll be in Birmingham for the game down there on Saturday. So we'll have to keep things kind of loose and check out social media when we get closer to the time, and I'll definitely post when the episode will be. But otherwise, yeah. So we're gonna have a good show tonight. Review the games, talk a little bit about the matchups in the divisional conference games or whatever you want to call it. But yeah. See. So, I mean, how are you guys feeling at home? If you're watching, listening, comment in. Let me know. How did you think Week 10 of the UFL went? Rock Renegade, happy Tuesday. Who's pumped for the semifinals? Brahmas Bulletin says he sure is, and he is on the show as well tonight. So they'll be breaking down that San Antonio game. Guys, the weather's a little choppy here my way. So if we do get disconnected, check for the show to be sent back out. Power kind of flickered a little bit, and if that happens, the internet goes out. So definitely be on watch. Just keep that in mind in case the show just like falls off. So anyway, like I said, Week 10 was pretty good. I enjoyed it. The first matchup we got to watch was the Michigan Panthers, and they took on the Birmingham Stallions. This will also be the game we're going to watch again next week. So repeat. It's also in Birmingham. And so, yeah. Mike T. Bell, are you in the house? I see Mike T. Bell's in here, but let me see. You with us, my friend?
I'm with you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. The car view. I like it.
I'm live from the Meyer parking lot because we're on a diaper run, so this has worked out.
I appreciate the time, dude, and I understand the babies. There's no telling what you got going, but yeah,
absolutely.
Appreciate
we call
the
it
time.
the child exorcism hour, so we're almost through it.
Well, I mean, if you could give us a breakdown of this Michigan Panthers and Birmingham Stallions game. The Stallions pulled it off 20-19, and I mean, Michigan had a chance to win this game with that field goal. Jake Bates missed there 53 yards, I believe, without looking at anything.
It was 53 yards. Yes, it was.
So, yeah, fill us in on the blanks here, man.
Yeah, so, the great thing about the UFL is it's got a lot of drama, and you can't script these kind of scenarios sometimes, but we come into this matchup for the division crown, and the Panthers needed to win by 23 points to be able to be the division winner, which was a big ask, but definitely possible, especially with big story coming out of Birmingham, and that's defensive coordinator John Chaffetz leaving the team, and Corey Chamberlain got moved up, and they hired Vipers head coach from last year, Anthony Blevins, to be a defensive assistant. So the story going into that was there going to be any kind of an effect on the defense? And for the Panthers, it was who was going to be QB1, who was going to be QB2. And that was Danny Etling. He was back again. Coach Nolan has a ton of trust in him. He actually played on the Patriots. He played a little bit with Tom Brady. You could see kind of his poise in the pocket. But we get started off with MVP favorite Adrian Martinez back at QB1 for Stallions. No question there. But we saw a different Adrian Martinez in this half besides this play right here. Jay Sternberger down the sideline for 48 yards and manhandles this fumble recovery. It felt like the Panthers should have gotten that. And who knows what would happen with that. But they capitalized on that play and end up punching it in for 6 with CJ Marbell. And this goal line defense against the T formation isn't a huge issue. I believe the Stallions are close to 100% when they're in the T formation against the Panthers on the goal line. They have a lot of success. So why go away from it, right? It's crazy. The T formation is so old and it's still so relevant. So great job by the Stallions there. And then the Panthers kick it into high gear and they get going. Danny Etling leads them down the field. They're getting some good plays out of COC Mariner, who has been clutch the last couple weeks in replacement of Marcus Sims. It's been great to see a guy who I've compared to Chris Godwin. He's a good possession receiver. He can get the high point of the ball, and he can take a hit. He very much helped keep the Panthers in the game. And Nate McCrary had to step up to RB1 because Matthew Colburn was out. But he had a couple good scampers. And Devin Ross and Devin Gray also, huge help. We go into halftime, it's 16-6, and you're feeling good as a Panthers fan. And if you read my article, I put a little perspective that we just felt good because we felt like Bryce Perkins was the better QB. And so to go into the second half with Bryce coming up with a 10-point lead it felt like we might actually have a chance at the division crown. First half, there was a ton of sacks by the Panthers. We were getting pressure on Martinez. We were containing the run game as far as his legs because he's the leading rusher in the whole league. And even Danny got loose on a couple of those to score there. So it was nice to see for the Panthers continuing to run the ball. 137 yards on the day for the Panthers. Bryce Perkins got in, but he was only in for 2 series as he and we'll get to the highlights soon, but he did this leap in the air, which is always dangerous, and took a helmet straight to the kneecap. There's still no word on whether he'll be back, but he was out for the rest of the game. You felt at that point you were glad to have Danny and that he had that first half to shake some of that rust. But wow, did the Stallions clamp down on defense. They fixed all their miscommunications in the first half, and they started to get pressure, and they stopped the run game. Ironically, Bryce Perkins on 3 carries was the leading rusher for the Panthers with just 37 yards. So that shows you how much that they contain. A big game from Garrett Marino. He's a UAB Blazer, so back in his home stadium, that protective stadium, and he had a big sack, a big tackle for a loss, and it really disrupted that middle of the front. And we got Jake Bates field goal, 39-yarders. To put it to 19, but you get to that point at the end of the game, and you're like, it's almost like back in the Tom Brady days. If Tom Brady had any time at all in the end of the clock, you knew that they were going marching down the field, and we got within range for Jake Bates for a field goal, and I just can't believe that he missed that to start the year, week 1 against the Battlehawks, and make that name for himself, kick his way into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And then to end the season with a miss against, our biggest rival right now, it was almost poetic in a bad way for a Panthers fan. So, but overall, the Panthers looked great. They kept themselves in the game. They had control of a lot of the game. The penalties kind of stacked up on them, and it was a little bit ugly for a while. I think they had 4 penalties inside the goal line that could have. Honestly, it could have been a game difference right there. So Stallions escaped the victory. Someone made a good point. Like, we showed that the God King can bleed. That's from the movie 300.
I just watched that the other night.
Oh, that's hilarious. We showed that they could bleed. So I think we built some more respect with them. A lot of chippiness after the whistles there. And I heard from Coach Nolan that they actually roomed together down in Arlington. So there's a lot of competitive fire there. So overall, great game. We're feeling confident going into next week. Just hoping that we can stay healthy and really get that ground game going.
Yes, sir. I noticed as well, the Michigan Panthers had 10 total penalties on this game for 80 yards worth of penalties. That is going to make you lose a game. I don't care what you do. Even if you're ahead by 3 touchdowns, you do that in key positions and key points during the game, and there's no way that you can sustain that lead. So hopefully next week they kind of clean it up. You could tell they really wanted it at watching on TV, man. There was a fight, seriously. Yeah. And you could see a lot of these guys, like you said, getting chippy. After the game was over, I thought I saw some commotion. The cameras weren't showing any of that, But
yeah, I know.
It was an entertaining game, and it's a good little preview to see what we're going to see next week. In terms of who is it? I'm sorry, your backup QB Perkins.
Yeah.
Is he? Have you heard anything yet? Have you seen anything on him?
They're keeping things pretty hush right now. No injury reports released. During the media call this week, Coach Nolan said Danny Etling will be QB1 going into the game, and Perkins will be basically a game time decision, trying to make sure that he's healthy. If he is healthy, he will get some action.
Yeah, I know the big conversation was, will we see him start? Everybody was saying he should start. Yeah. He's the better quarterback. And it's unfortunate that he only got in a couple plays and then was injured very soon after. And you could see it on TV. He was trying to hobble around, and it just didn't look good. And something's not right. It may not be anything serious, but something's not right.
Absolutely. And the unfortunate part was Coach Nolan went into that game with both QBs each getting a half. Whoever played better was going to get the start in this playoff game. So it's sad to see. But I hope at the very least Perkins gets healthy for this week, and hopefully we'll see him again next year. He was close to retiring. We just found out before the Panthers called him. So we're glad to have him.
You learn a little bit from the broadcast, depending on where it's at. I learned a lot of useful facts about him and some other athletes that I did not know. So I picked up on some of that as well. Let's talk about the attendance numbers real quick. 7,000 attendance, 7,133. I mean, that's not the best in Birmingham, but it's not the worst. An average TV viewers on ESPN was 754,000. So that was actually pretty decent there, and we expected that, honestly, and from looking at past games.
Yeah, the only thing I could think with the attendance was I did see some chatter in Birmingham that there was some rainstorms a couple of hours before the game, and people were 50-50 on whether they wanted to be outside for that. So that may have a little bit of effect, but overall I think it was going to hover close to what it was.
Yeah, no doubt. And I want to note, too, last week on the show, we put the times wrong because it was wrong on a different schedule. And I wonder, too, if other people do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like they Google it, you look. Now it's got me checking 2 to 3 different web pages and making sure everything's correct.
I've seen that, too. A lot of people talking about, like, wait, when's that game? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So hopefully that gets lined out.
Good news for this week. The mayor of Birmingham finally went public with blasting this game out. Get out there and support the Stallions. It's the first time he's done it all season, so that's some great news.
Yes, sir. Well, I will be there. I'm excited. So
awesome.
Yep, it should be a good time. Be my first time in Birmingham for a game, so looking forward to it.
Hopefully you can bring us a Panthers win.
I don't know if I'm the good luck charm you want, my friend, but
we'll see, I guess.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, Mike. Is there anything else about this game or the athletes that we need to know?
We should be getting back a couple more defensive starters. Noah Dawkins and Corian Ballard both were out with concussion issues. They should be back this week. Solidifies a lot of our depth and players. So hopefully that's enough.
Yes, sir. Now, Martin Nelson commented in. He said, Michigan injury report released a little while ago. Perkins is not on the report. Promising.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark, for that. Yeah. The GOAT, Mark.
Oh, he's on it, dude.
I love it. Yes. That's great news. And that would be great. I definitely think we'll see Perkins. He's just too good to not throw a different look at that Stallions defense, especially when you got a new situation. You're going to keep them guessing. They're allowing almost 100 rush yards. I think it's approximately 80 rush yards more per game since Chamberlain took over, and about, I believe, 5 points per game more approximately. But the general thing is it's gotten worse. So we'll see if that's still in effect on Saturday.
Yeah, they look a little deflated at times from that game.
Yeah.
They looked a little like they're out of energy. They weren't upbeat. That's just my general observation. It didn't affect play as much as I thought it would, but you could definitely tell. I mean, I don't know. I think it's just hot. Everybody's ready to go. They're showing up. They're professional athletes, and they're competitive. So I think that's normal. Just got to click it back together so they can win this championship.
Absolutely. It'd be beautiful.
Not for you. You want your team to win, sir. I appreciate you, Mike, man. Like I said, anything else that you got before we roll on to the next game?
Just good luck for this week. So thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for making the time, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye. All right. So appreciate Mike hopping on. Man, having the kids and the full-time job, I know has got to be a lot. I don't have kids myself. I got a dog. So much respect to him for taking the time to do that, even in the car or the parking lot. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you greatly. Let's go to the comments before we roll the next game. Rig Rocker. What's up, Rig Rocker? How you doing? Excalibur. Good evening, gentlemen. What's up, Excalibur? Got to get you back on, man. Now that we got the video going, with it just audio. The last time you were on, it wasn't the full shebang. This time, I think people would really like you. XFLG Mike G said, "Many thanks to you for gracing us with your presence." Excalibur, my pleasure. Yeah, he's all about the show. All right, let's roll into the second game, guys. The San Antonio Brahmas headed to the Battle Dome to take on the Battlehawks. They lost 12-13. It was a really close game. I have RJ, the Bullish Brahma, and XFL Mike G joining me today to break this down. What's up, fellas? How you?
Hi, Matthew.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Very good. So, fellas, if you could just run it through us. I mean, how'd this game go? Break it down and kind of discuss it.
Well, for me, it was a defensive battle between the two teams. It started off, St. Louis looked like they were being very vanilla. Even the commentators on the broadcast, they were saying that the Battlehawks seemed like they were playing a little safe, very vanilla. They were running the ball, which was not effective at all. And in San Antonio, on our end, we had the early turnover. We actually had 2 turnovers very early in the game. Thankfully, neither one of them cost us anything. And you look at the numbers real quick. It was, like I said, it was a big defensive battle there. The Brahmas actually, I think they dominated the game. The score does not really look like it, but they shut down AJ McCarron, and except for that one drive. They had that one drive, I think it was in the second quarter, that looked like they were starting to pick things up. They were throwing the ball downfield a little bit more. They scored that touchdown. But other than that, they did not move the ball hardly at all. And then on our side, we weren't moving the ball well either.
Yep.
And then we saw that Chase Garbers gets injured, re-injured his wrist, which I think was probably from the Stallions game, because it looked like he may have injured it during the Stallions game, but was able to, suck it up and push through to finish that one. So he was still probably feeling that from last week. Then he gets re-injured. And then Dormady comes in and he fills in. I thought he filled in pretty adequately there.
Yeah,
the offense looked like it was starting to pick up. The ball was getting thrown down the field more. And John Trey Kirkland is an absolute beast. I mean, that guy was amazing. Just a great catch and touchdown there. And, we get the ball. We try the 2-point conversion. At first, it said that he did not get it. Then it was replayed, showed that he clearly crossed the line. So it was given to us, but then it was challenged. And they were like, well, you just reviewed it, so why are you challenging a play that was already reviewed? And then it turned out that they were challenging a offensive lineman downfield, which
worked.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know, but this might have been the very first offensive lineman downfield on a play that was at the 2-yard line.
I don't disagree.
I don't think I've ever seen that before anywhere.
I think he came up with that on the fly, honestly. Something wasn't right there.
But I mean, hey, it worked. They got flagged for it, and so they brought it back. And then the very next play, I know the ball was thrown slightly behind them, but still. I mean, you're a professional wide receiver. You had your hands on the ball, and that's what they always say. If your hands hit the ball, it should be caught. But didn't make the 2-point conversion, and then we kicked the ball off to St. Louis, and our defense was absolutely dominant, like it has been all game long. Forced them to punt. We get the ball. We're driving down the field, and Ryan Santosa trying to come in there to win the game and get us home field advantage in the playoffs. And, well, some people say that it was blocked. You look at the review, maybe Hakeem Walker maybe got a fingernail on it. I think it was a really terrible kick.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so St. Louis wins. I don't know what it is about the Battle Pigeons and the Brahmas, where the Brahmas, I don't know what it is. They just can't seem to find a way to beat them. The first game last season where St. Louis comes back from 2 touchdowns late in the game to win. And now this game where we had 3 chances to win the game at the end and couldn't do it. But it was a good game. I thought it was a great game. And I think that next week, with us having our running backs, hopefully both running backs back from injury, that's going to be the big difference, I think, right there, because we did not have our 2 top running backs. John Levitt was out, Anthony McFarland was out, and we had Morgan Ellison, who looked like he got banged up, and you had Kuka Williams filling in, and he's a wide receiver. So we get our 2 running backs back. It's kind of weird to say those 2 words back to back.
English language,
those
sir.
guys back, we'll be fine.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was the noticeable thing for sure with that offense, was there was no running game. And Ellison is a beast, man, but he just got injured. And
Yes.
you could tell he was hobbling pretty early. I don't think he's been 100% since he started playing, in my opinion.
No, I don't think so either. And then of course you got the big elephant in the room is Santosa has now missed 5 straight field goals. I mean, the last field goal he made was a 26-yarder with 9 minutes and 16 seconds left in the second quarter against Arlington. Since then, he's missed a 48-yarder, a 38-yarder, a 53-yarder, and now in this game it was like a 59 and then a 53. So, yeah, you can say that a lot of those are long distance because they're like 50-plus yards, but every single game's been indoors. So you can't say the wind or anything like that is effective. And you look at the other kickers in the UFL, they're making 60-yard field goals on a regular basis. And here's our guy. He has missed 5 straight field goals, and that's a huge problem. We cannot afford to have any more missed opportunities in the playoffs. Definitely not.
Yeah, as soon as it came down to that kick, I called it right there. Not going to lie to you. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I was watching with my girlfriend, and they're going to win. Hold on.
Well, you mentioned that, Matthew, because, I mean, I'm a Vikings fan. I've been a lifelong Vikings fan. And anybody who's a Vikings fan for any length of time knows that the Vikings have some sort of curse when it comes to kickers. They choke and all that stuff. So there's something about Minnesota kickers. And then when Destroying got injured and we signed Ryan Santos, and I saw that he played for the University of Minnesota, I'm like, oh no, another Minnesota kicker. Oh no. Hopefully this curse does not extend to the college. Well, apparently it does, because there's something about a kicker from Minnesota that's just not working.
Another thing too, that play behind the back where the ball was thrown, short. That's another play that I was sitting there having to explain to my girlfriend. She doesn't know as much about football, and I'm having to explain to her, yeah, it looks like it's easy, but it's kind of hard when you're having to shift your momentum backwards. Yes. And I agree, though, if you got your hands on it, you better catch it. There's no excuse at that point, especially 2 hands. Come on now.
Yes.
Two hands. Come on, man. But anyway, Mike, what do you think? You got any opinions on it?
Oh, yeah, and I've got some opinions that people might not agree with, but it's just my observations. The success of the Brahmas this year kind of covered up some of our shortcomings, penalties and ability to convert on third down. About that penalty that was called against us upon review, I believe it was an RPO, and in the RPO, you got to hold your block to 3-1,000, 1-1,000, 2-1,000, 3-1,000, and then you go. Upon watching it again, he fired off for the line. He was down the field before the pass was out of the quarterback's hand. And he did it multiple times. On the broadcast, they said, they showed AJ saying, he's down the field. Well, that went up to the OC Gradkowski, and he's the one who called it the next time. So, yep, he's down the field this time again. Let's throw it. And so we've got to overcome some of these failures if we want to succeed. Not having our running game this week because we've had McFarland and Lovett kind of resting up and getting over injuries, getting a little bit of rest, and relying on Ellison and Puka Williams. If one of them goes down, like Ellison, it affects our game and our strategy for play calling. About the Santoso, if you watch it again, it was like a 51-yarder the first time, and it was low. And if you're kicking the ball, you want to kick it low for distance. And I don't know if he anticipated seeing those 3 big Battlehawks in the middle, right past the line, with some leaping ability. And I think that's what caused the first block. And the game winner, it may have gotten into his head a little bit, because I believe he had a practice kick, and they tried to ice him, called timeout, and he missed both. Mm-hmm. I don't think the second one was blocked. It didn't look like the trajectory changed, but it'll get in your head. I mean, you've got to have a certain angle on these kicks for the distance, and that may have played a role. I don't think that they're going to go away from him, but it may be a little bit like the Memphis game when Destroying got hurt, where they're going to try to take the kicking maybe out of his hands. Either shorter punts, or going for it on fourth and long in some situations.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move. If don't set yourself up for failure. If you got to take the chance, definitely take it. But if you can do something different, plan. Call my guy Enrique Brahmas. He'll get you right. I promise. I promise. He's ready to go, man. Let's go ahead.
Oh, if he's got that situation cleared up with his passport, definitely. I've been calling for
just
Yenny
throw it all out there, Mike.
Ever since Memphis, Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was known. It was mentioned on this podcast, was it not? But anyway, once that situation's cleared. But this game, I actually wasn't disappointed in. It was a classic defensive struggle. We were down 0-10, but it didn't feel like it at halftime. I enjoyed watching both defenses having to step up and make plays against terrific offenses. I love a defensive struggle, and I love what the Brahmas did. This game also showed us some of the things we need to get fixed and cleared up, and we only lost by 2-3 points. We were not out of that game completely, and there's some people kind of hand wringing right now because of the uncertainty with Garbers and Q and what's going on with our kicking game. I think they go with Q this week. I don't know if you noticed it. They did show on the telecast where the Brahmas were allegedly targeting AJ's ankles.
I was going to mention that as well. Yeah.
But what they didn't kind of show or kind of really bring to light is Garbers had his left wrist, the injured wrist, wrapped in black tape. And there was a couple of times where I saw linemen absolutely grabbing that wrist and bending and pulling down on it as they were going at him. But I think it's too much uncertainty right now. I feel confident going with Q for the rest of this game, potentially the next game. We don't really have that many shortcomings to overcome. It feels like San Antonio did kind of hold back a little bit, but Anthony Becht is on record saying that they didn't hold back. They put it all out for this game. So it'll make this next upcoming matchup a barn burner for sure.
Yeah, I agree. The defense was just rolling, man. And I mean for both teams too. Mm-hmm. It was entertaining. AJ McCarron, his stats were not that good. 10 for 24, 115 yards, 1 TD, and 1 interception. So I don't know what his stats are game to game, but that's a low end for him if I can just say that off the top of my head. Now I'll tell you the one shortcoming you guys will have coming into this game is the attendance there. During this game, we had 34,379 in attendance, and it was loud. And you saw the Brahmas struggle with play calling from that. Once they got their system down, though, they were okay. Go ahead.
That was another point that I was going to make in looking at past mistakes from this game. Maybe they'll put another headset in more than one quarterback's helmet this time.
I think even if they do, they'd probably have trouble in that arena or that stadium, whatever you want to call it. That place is going to be loud, man. And you're lucky you can see them, even the guys with the headsets. I mean, they're struggling. whatever system they had before reminded me of like a middle school play call system where the receiver runs into play and then it takes forever to get everyone lined up. So whatever they did to fix it, good job.
The old meet me at the numbers after every play.
And that's cool until the players get tired and you have some adversity, and then that becomes an issue. Now, we had 836,000 average TV viewers on Fox. Wasn't a bad viewing outage for that game either. And honestly, these numbers so far are higher than I thought they would be for viewing averages, especially compared to like the past seasons where things kind of trickled down as we went. While we're on this subject and we're talking about St. Louis, though, I had a tweet that Luke Miller put out. And I wanted to share it because it kind of highlights, what the different numbers are. And, of course, we can't see the USFL side of things from last year just because we don't have those stats. Too close. All right. So AAF shut down early. We know that, but they had a total average attendance of 15,292. XFL 2020 had 18,125, and that shut down early as well. XFL 2023, 14,705. We had a full season with that. And then right now we have the UFL with 12,828. And like I said, these are attendance averages. So with that, I mean, we're thinking, cool, that's not too bad. But then when you come over here and look, this is from Abdul Mimon. The XFL conference average in the league right now is 17,571. The XFL conference without St. Louis is 11,973. So, what do you guys think? Is this sustainable long term, basically?
Not at these current numbers, but I mean, I think that what the league really needs, and I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, is they need to have a nice, quiet off season. I mean,
yes,
no drama, no merging, no expansion talks, nothing like that. Just a standard, typical, regular off season with established dates. There, we know when this is going to happen. We know when the schedule is going to be put out. We know when it's going to start, all that stuff. No uncertainty, just a nice, quiet off season. And that way they can ramp up on their marketing. They can really focus on getting the word out. And then that will show fans that there is some sort of stability. And I think that's the big thing is that, like I said, the last time I was on your show, Matthew, was that went to the Arlington game with a friend, and he's like, this was a lot of fun, but is it going to be around next year?
Mm-hmm.
So there's that question. And I think if we have a nice, quiet, stable off season, that should quell some concerns and answer those questions for a lot of people. And they'll just say that, hey, the league is going to be around. It is sustainable. And you're going to see these attendance numbers, I think, start to go up and then continue that. And then we can talk about expansion in, 2-3 years down the road. But we definitely don't need anything like that. We just need a standard, typical off season.
Yep. Agreed 100%. It's some marketing and trust.
And to that point, we'll get more than a month's notice to make our plans, and hopefully now that the dust is kind of starting to settle a little bit, and we can look at these facilities and not as their main tenants, but a tenant with priority to schedule some of these events, so they can start making a little bit better choices. I mean, and I've said it before, is you get what you get when you're trying to throw a schedule out at the last minute. So now that they've got a full off season, they know who's playing where and when. They can make a little bit better schedule and adjust for some things, maybe some very early games in some of the cities that are really hot, utilizing the domes a little bit more, and maybe some more 7:00 games.
Yes, sir. Agreed. Rick 8-Bit said, in my opinion, they need to release what the capacity for the stadiums are. Ford Field is listed at 68K, but only we're using around 22K. 50% capacity looks better than 22%. And I want to pick on or piggyback on Mike's statement. I think a lot of what we have scheduled now was because there was no other choice. We'll probably see the same stuff next year, but the following year after that, it's probably going to change a little bit in terms of these locations. Because, we know Ford Field's too big. I mean, it's obvious, right?
Yeah, and I believe they're also looking in Lansing and one other city, possibly to move the Panthers there to have them play, so it's not so cavernous. And I'm sure the cost of renting Ford Field has got to be astronomical for a young league like this.
Agreed. But fellas, I appreciate you guys as always. Good luck this weekend. I hope to have you on again so we can discuss the championship game.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you guys have an episode coming out this week? I just wanted to give you the airtime, if so.
Well, I appreciate that. It doesn't look like it because I have some foster care training that's going to be scheduled for Thursday. So we just came back from our vacation in Paris with the wife, and so we had to put that on hold. But now we're back up. So now we have a bunch of training that we have to make up during that time. And unfortunately, Thursday we have training from like 7 to 9. So it looks like I won't be able to have a show.
Well, much respect to you, man. Pursuing that's a thing worthy of your time for sure. So,
yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Some kid's gonna benefit a lot off that someday, I'm sure.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. No problem. Mike, you got anything before we roll out?
You know what? I was not disappointed in that loss. It's very difficult to beat a team 3 times in one season. The revenge tour continues. Horns forward. And if our horns are down, you're probably underneath them.
Peace out, my friends. Be good till next time.
Horns forward.
All right. So we got one more breakdown, then I'll bring Cullen in. Cullen's waiting patiently. I see you down there waiting, Cullen. The Arlington Renegade game was a decent one as well. That one came down to the wire. Let me go to So Arlington beat DC 32-31. I enjoyed this game also. It was a great showing from Arlington. I thought they looked legitimate and wish that we could have seen this same team perform like this throughout the year. The comeback win was awesome. They didn't shoot themselves in the foot. Things went well for them. The great passing game was there as normal, and they actually had a running game this time. The DC defense could not contain that run game for some reason. It wasn't a spectacular game, but it was enough to move the ball and run some plays. In DC, they did not have anything going on the ground for offense. 38 total yards for offense. That's not good. So I'll say that, Jordan Teamu looked good as well. 18 for 34, 218 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's consistent as can be. This team just has some things they need to answer and figure out. And I think part of that is the defense as well as some of the skill players. As we said back, I think last week or the week before, the run game here seems to be have suffered immensely from last year. And there really wasn't a backup plan, seemingly, to fill that gap that Abram Smith left when he went to another team. There was a touchdown scored on the ground, but it wasn't anything crazy, and they had to fight to earn that in DC. So I got a clip from DeMarcus, and DeMarcus is going to break down the game from an Arlington standpoint, talk a little bit more about Arlington. It's about 5 minutes long. He's got a few little tweaks with the audio. I've tried to edit as much as I can, so it's not too bad, but just wanted to let you guys know. Like I said, we're not professionals. We do this for fun, the passion, and everybody kind of learns as we go. Before I get into that clip, just want to say that there was 13,080 in attendance for that game in DC, and it looked rowdy compared to other games, in my opinion. That also averaged 893,000 average TV viewers on ABC. Another decent showing for the week. In my opinion, if these numbers are sustainable, and I'll be curious to see. I don't know, maybe if the leagues have a threshold of what they consider successful and not, that'll be cool in the offseason if we can get something like that. All right, so I'm going to play this clip from DeMarcus, and then we'll roll on into the Houston game. If I can find it.
Arlington and DC play each other, we can always expect it to be a wildly entertaining game. It was a great way to end the season. Arlington gets the win 32-31. Kind of get a little bit of a revenge against that last-second walk-off field goal that DC was able to get in Arlington last year. So Renegades getting a chance to play spoilers a little bit. So let's go ahead and go over the stats. Luis Perez has a great game as usual, 215 yards, 3 TDs. Did get a couple of INTs, but overall he goes 23 of 37. I really wonder if Luis Perez is going to come back next year. I mean, he's coming off of his best year, arguably, as a spring league QB, but he ended the year on a high note. Another person that ended the year on a high note, Devion Smith. This guy racked up 94 yards, which, again, talking about the Renegades running game, that's actually a monster game. I mean, that's not something that we saw very often this year from the Renegades. So he gets 94 yards. Devin Darrington had an okay supplemental game. He had 8 attempts for 26 yards. So overall, Renegades get about 120 yards rushing, maybe about 150 if you include some of the QB, some of the other plays there. Really good day rushing the football. Offense has never been an issue for the Renegades. Defense had a decent day, 3 sacks and 1 fumble recovery. I don't really know what you can really say. This is one of those games where you look at the Renegades and you say, if they could have been playing like this the whole season, what could we be talking about now? We could easily be talking about them being back in the playoffs. I mean, against the DC Defenders, that particular game, they look like the Renegades that we're used to watching. They look like that we all knew that they were capable of doing it. Just as with the St. Louis game, I mean, it's too little, too late. When you go back and you look at the season stats and you look at offense versus defense, you see offensively they finished first, second, and third in just about every statistical category. So, for instance, in total offense, they were second. They were first in passing, second in first downs, first and third down conversion, third in scoring. Then you go over to the defensive side of the ball, and then you start to see where all the problems are. Renegades are the exact opposite when you're looking at defense. They don't finish above 5th in just about anything. So they're 7th in total defense, 7th in passing, 6th in rushing, 7th in first downs allowed, 5th and third down conversions allowed, and 6th in scoring. This defense was a porous defense for most of the season, and you could just run straight up the middle. I mean, you bring your 15-year-old daughter and give her the ball and just let her run straight up the middle. So if there are any changes that need to be made next year, it's probably going to have to be mainly on the defensive side of the ball. Now, is this a coaching issue? I kind of think that was part of it. This defense seemed to lack situational awareness in a lot of cases. They would go from shutting Birmingham out of the end zone for most of the first half, and then right before halftime, they'd give up a TD. Also, special teams. That's overlooked. That even with as bad as the defense was, I honestly lay at the feet of the defense at least 2 or 3 of the losses this year. Against Michigan, against St. Louis. The Renegades are winning that game with about a minute to go. We kick off the ball. The special teams lets the opposition get up to about the 50, and which gets them about 10, 20 yards from field goal range, especially when you're talking about that Michigan kicker. Against the DC Defenders, a 4th and 12 is coming. They allow the 4th and 12 conversion. Allow first down after that. Situational awareness and the ability to play disciplined football, the ability to stop the run, get the other team off the field has been the Achilles heel of this team. And it's sad to see because, again, you fix those kickoff returns. You give the defense a little bit of situational awareness. I don't know. Maybe San Antonio isn't in the playoffs. So I look forward to seeing what changes are made. In Bob Stoops' press conference, he didn't seem to be riding off into the sunset. He seemed to think very positively about the UFL. He had a lot of positive things to say. He seemed pretty upbeat about what could be accomplished there. So didn't sound like he was planning on going anywhere. We'll see.
Well, unmute. My bad, guys. There we go. I'm sitting here running my mouth for like 10 minutes straight. Yeah, there we go. Sound, audio. Yeah, Mike, I thought you were talking about DeMarcus's video when you said sound. My bad, guys. So I was saying about DeMarcus is it's tough to be an Arlington fan right now, and I appreciate the time he's done to kind of put that together and lead the front on covering that team. We didn't really have anybody that was capable of doing it in Arlington, so appreciate you, DeMarcus, for your time and staying loyal to your team even without the hiccups. Okay, so I'm gonna get Cullen in here now. Cullen, ready to go? What's up, man? How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Matthew. How are you doing?
Very good. I'm doing better now that you can hear me for sure. So how's things your way, man? You're in Houston. I know you're probably one of the biggest Houston fans I know. How you feeling, dude? Tell me before we get into this game breakdown.
Matthew, I'm past the point of this season. I am now looking forward. I'm looking at the future, hopefully a bright future. But I agree, it's been a rough season. It's been a rough ride. It has been, but I hope the future is bright.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, I know I was right there with you last year, and this year I kind of stepped back and hung out and did my thing and tried not to, I don't know, go head first as a fan and try to observe it as media. And it's a little different, but definitely disappointing coming from these past seasons we've had as Houston fans. Makes you really miss PJ Walker, like really, really miss PJ Walker. June Jones, man.
I see the jersey in your room. I'm wearing the PJ jersey, and I'll tell you what, Matthew, I hate to say it, it shows in the attendance. Even we miss those old Roughnecks teams. They had a vibe to them. You could trust those teams, and we'll go into the game breakdown here. But with this season, you just couldn't put a lot of trust in this team because they didn't get the job done. When PJ was out there, you knew he was getting the job done. You knew he was. But it was just, that was not there this season. Not there.
We could hash it out back and forth about what the issue is, and we'll talk a little bit more in just a second about it. But I'm coming in through the season, when we went through the draft, we saw how they drafted. That's kind of when I started asking questions and wondering, like, what's going on with the team? And we kept pushing forward a little bit, and we didn't really know what our identity was. And as it goes for the season, I feel like we still did not find that identity as a team ever.
You're correct. You are absolutely correct on that. We saw the draft. We loaded up on the front. We loaded up on defense. I mean, Adam Rodriguez, right? Huge name we got. We were going to pair him up with Chris Odom and Toby Johnson, and it worked. We had a pretty good defense, but Matthew, like you were saying, the identity for this team just never happened. Houston fans were promised going into this season, Mark Thompson's the guy you need to know. Mark Thompson, MVP caliber player, but then he misses the first handful of games with an injury from training camp. Yeah, we had no identity. And luckily, as the time went on, you started seeing Justin Hall, Kirk Merritt, these guys start to step up, but it was too late. It was too late. So looking back, the Mark Thompson, horrible start to the season. Horrible start.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and once Kirk Merritt went down, that's when I really got worried, man, because he's an athlete as well. He's one of my favorite athletes on that team, and I know quite a few of the Roughnecks now. And you hear we're talking a lot about the offense because I think the defense is pretty solid. I can't say a lot of bad things about that, and that's a lot of the athletes that I have some communication with. They play on the defense for the Roughnecks. But anyway, let's get into this game if that's cool with you. Are you cool with that?
I'm cool with it. It lived up to the name of the Toilet Bowl. 12-19. It wasn't the worst game we ever played, except when we got to the red zone. For the whole game, we would drive down the field pretty well, but as soon as we hit the end zone, the red zone, It was non-existent. We went 1-4 in the red zone. You're not winning football games when you're doing that. JJ Molson had a great game. I understand that he missed a field goal, which, whatever. A lot of kickers this week missed field goals. So most of our points came from JJ Molson. Kirk Merritt, I sort of forgot about him. I hate to say it. I sort of forgot about him after he got injured in D.C., but you just can't help but wonder what would have happened with Kirk Merritt in this offense, because not only he was so unique, not only can he run the ball, which he did this game, but he could catch the ball and he could run with it. Matthew, like you said, he is an athlete, the definition of an athlete. So that was our only score, our only touchdown was the Kirk Merritt. Our defense, they did the best they could. You hold a team like the Memphis Showboats to 19 points. That's the best you can do. Your offense should take you from there. But sadly, in this game, it's just we couldn't get it done. The offense could not get it done. Darius Victor had a great game for Memphis. He had 2 touchdowns, but it's Darius Victor. He's going to get in the red zone eventually, and that's what happened this game. But it's just another lackluster performance from the offense. Nolan Henderson had a good game. No interceptions, no touchdowns, though. So we were just lacking that star power, and it showed in this game.
Sorry, man. My light's just going crazy over here, dude.
I don't know what's going on there.
This is the way it goes with the lives, bro. One thing happens bad, and it all just kind of dominoes out. We'll leave that light off for now. We'll play with that again later. Yeah, dude, I totally agree with you, and I know many other people that do as well. There have been a lot of games that these Roughnecks could have won, but there were the discipline problems, the bad play calling, the questionable play calling, the not taking advantage of timeouts, time on the field. I mean, there's so many things that I can keep saying, but it's clear that something has to change with this team. You know, I'm not to the point where I'm calling for new coaches and GM, but I am to the point where we have to see some steps towards improvement, or this team is not going to be anything. We're going to turn into the Vegas Vipers. So that's basically where I'm at with it.
And you're correct about all of that. I mean, talking about the issues that this team had, more things went wrong than things went right with
Always.
This team. And this is the thing, too. We were talking about the defense for this team. We got to bring that aspect next season. Bring whoever is in charge of this defense, bring them back next season. No issues with that. But the play calling has to change. And Matthew, I know you're going to agree with me with this. I mean, Nolan Henderson, if you look at him, I'm not saying he has the talent of PJ Walker, but he has that same build. He can get on his horse and run. We didn't see him sling the ball really. So imagine we get more of a passer-friendly offense for this team next year. Maybe have Henderson come back, maybe not, whoever. I just want to see more consistency however we can get it done. And Mark Thompson, hopefully he comes back, because this is a guy that I thought was going to be an MVP candidate. I sound so crazy saying that now, but going into this season, that wasn't a crazy thing to say. It was just unlucky, whether bad O-line, whatever, injury, whatever. But we need Mark Thompson back too. So this team isn't done. This team is not done. There's a lot of improvements that can be made, but it's doable. It's doable. Yeah,
I agree with you 100%. People are just kind of ready to jump off ship, I feel like, because of the move, the inconsistencies, and then the team transfer, I guess you can say, or the team trade. I don't really know how to put, the gamble next, as some people call it. That also rubs some people wrong. But, just like every other team in franchise, I think with some groundwork and some time that they have this year, we should see the improvements in that and everything we're talking about, as well as the marketing and fan aspect of this game. So in attendance, we had 6,039. I mean, it's right on par with what we're doing typically in Rice. And this actually surprised me, was the average TV viewers on Fox is 649,000. Also a decent showing. It's not the worst, but it's not the best. I don't know. I was surprised when I saw this today, just because of the game at hand. Most people, they didn't care what was going on. You had all 6,000 Memphis fans and all 6,000 Houston fans, and we were watching, and that was it, you know. So I don't know, man. How do you feel about the attendance and the TV viewing?
I was very impressed with the TV viewing. I mean, it was a toilet bowl, for crying out loud. Two of the worst teams, and I think anything we got for this game was going to be considered great, considering who was playing. And in terms of attendance, it was tough because this game was in Memphis, I believe. 6,000 people about. It probably would have been the same, I feel, if it was in Rice. I mean, Memphis and Houston, very similar. I just don't. I hate to see it. You look at, I know earlier in the show, y'all were looking at the XFL 2020 numbers and the attendance averages on that. And you just can't help ask yourself, what happened? What happened? We just need to replicate what they had in 2020. I know the world has changed, but I mean, this Houston franchise, there's a little more groundwork, like you said, a little more groundwork. And I don't know if you agree with me on this. We got to get back to TDECU.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
I may be biased. I go to the University of Houston, so I don't care for Rice, but you got to go back to TDECU. Something about it. It's the home of the Houston Roughnecks. It always has been, and it always will be. Rice, good facility. They upgraded it pretty well, and I'm sure a lot of fans can agree with me, but you just can't beat TDECU. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
It's, to me, and it was my first time at Rice week 2. I went to that game, and I thought the area around Rice was nice. It was nicer. There was more to do. There was more places to park. There was all these other things, but the actual facility itself definitely wasn't the same. And it don't even have the same feel, in my opinion. You know, it looks different. It feels different. It's more of a gloomy type, I don't know, look to me. Whereas when you walk in TDECU, man, you're hit with that red. You know where you're at immediately. So I'm not a Houston guy personally. Like, I'm not from there or been to college there, but as this year has went on and last year, I really have kind of put myself in with the fans to know what are we doing? What are they thinking? So I don't know, man. You do a good job on your podcast as well. Rough 'em Up podcast, guys. Check him out. I've got the links going. I'll have them in the show notes as well. Good job he does. I mean, weekly show, just talking about the Roughnecks, breaking the games down. You're probably one of the few, I think, that has a Roughneck podcast. If I looked at it, I don't think there is anyone else that has a strictly Roughneck podcast.
Yeah, as far as I know. Hey, I'm fine.
There you go, dude. Do your thing. Seriously. I'm impressed with you, man. Last year I saw you doing your thing. You do a good job at being a super fan as well as doing your podcast, and they don't mix. I like that as well. You know, you go to the games, you have a good time, but then I can watch your show and know it's not full of antics and bull crap. You know, it's enjoyable. So let's go to the comments. So let's see what some people are saying. Roy said, absolutely. And he's talking about Mark Thompson, but when he was healthy and back on track around week 5, he should have been the man. Yeah, I agree. And we all kept looking for the attempts every week. You know, we're looking, is he going to get more touches this game? More. And it just didn't really ever pick up.
I mean, he was getting out-touched by TJ Pledger.
Yep.
Should have never happened. Never happened.
I always questioned if he was truly 100%. And that's kind of what went in my mind, because as we were going through weeks 1, 2, and 3, that was the number one question. When is Mark Thompson coming back? And we never got a definitive answer. When did he come back? Week 4, if I remember that.
Sounds right, 4 or 5.
But it was very slow, working him in, very slow. And then we saw him in action a couple games, and then it kind of fell back down to where we didn't see him much. So I don't know. I understand, Royce, and hopefully that if they do this next year, you know, that if they plan this, I hope they have a backup plan as well. That's my thing. Plans A, B, C, and D, and we can do it because we got professional athletes sitting right here.
Yep.
KJ Disciple said concessions absolutely sucked. For whatever reason, that aspect of the stadium facility is still in the Stone Ages. I didn't even experience that because I went strictly for media, so I didn't do any concessions. What's the word on it?
It was a weird system because it was a sorry excuse, if you want to say it, for concessions. you walked into a line. It was a self-serve concession thing.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I love eating Cracker Jacks at sporting events. Baseball, football, I love Cracker Jacks. So if I wanted to go get Cracker Jacks, instead of going and saying, hey, I'd like some, bam, whatever, like we're used to, you'd have to wait in a big line, loop around a bunch of other food and drinks to find your things, and then go to like a self-service kiosk to check out with a bunch of people watching you. It was odd. It was odd. Yeah, I agree with that. It did seem a little Stone Age type thing.
The best part is when it asks for tips.
Oh yeah. Easiest no tip option in my life, Matthew.
I won't forget that. I haven't experienced that there, but I have experienced those at other events. And it seems to be the norm in a lot of places now. That not having ice. You see that's a typical thing as well nowadays.
Yeah, and I'm a college student, so I don't have the money to be giving tips out to the computer for doing its job. I'm already strapped for cash enough.
I understand that, sir. Believe me, I don't get paid for the podcast or traveling either, so I get it 100%.
There you go.
See, we got one more. Oh, we got Jackie. Let's get to Jackie first. Jackie's with Horns Forward. What's up, Jackie? How you doing? Bulls on parade. I seen the UFL and the Brahmas gave them some love, and that's due. Good job, Jackie and the Horns Forward crew. I think Brahma Babe. There's maybe a few others that I'm not mentioning that I don't know, but they've traveled to most, if not all, the games. And then another thing, let's shout out Rig Rocker,
Absolutely.
Predator Couple. They've been traveling. I think they've attended every game possible for the Roughnecks. I mean there's a strong super fandom there in Houston, and hopefully we can find our way back to it. And Rig Rocker and Predator Couple are the greatest example, and you even of true loyal fans through this whole thing.
Oh, Rig Rocker and the Predator Couple. I talked to Rig Rocker. When was it? It was probably a month and a half, 2 months ago. It was at an event. Great guy. We had a great conversation and just about all the traveling he's doing, going to all the Roughnecks games, and great guy, a great guy. People like that is what keeps this going.
Yep.
We need people like the Rig Rocker and the Predator Couples to be the ideal fan for these people trying to get into the spring football sphere and become a Roughnecks fan. So shout out to Rig Rocker. Great guy. Great guy.
Agreed. And as it grows, I hope we see more of this, like we saw similarly in the 2020 era, even the 2023 era. I mean, you were at every game, you saw it, I mean, the love was there. I did not see the love like that this year at the games. It just wasn't the same, and hopefully it picks up that way.
I mean, I remember this year hearing our own fans yelling at our team because, I mean, we were doing so bad. And two, looking at it in the point of view from a Houston fan, Wade Phillips was taken away from us.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fans have that mentality. I don't necessarily have it. I'm just happy to have the Houston Roughnecks back. It sucks losing Wade Phillips, but I love the team in general, so I don't really care too much. But there was a lot of that this year, but hopefully next year that goes away.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, you can see why we're salty though, and when I say we, I mean it. I'm right there with you guys. You had Jude Jones, and then you had Wade Phillips, and now you got C.J. Johnson. And not to say anything bad about C.J. Johnson, his name just doesn't have the star power or the experience that comes with those other two coaches. It's not not trying to badmouth the guy in any way, shape, or form. Much respect. I've met him and talked to him numerous times. Super nice, cool dude. All the coaching staff over there is. But yeah, there's a difference when, you put a star in there, you take the star out, and you just kind of say, here you go, you can have this.
Yep.
It didn't go too well. I don't know. They're definitely going to have some names shifted around. I wouldn't say replace the head coach, but we're going to have to get some staff on there. That is a Houston native, somebody that will touch these fans and give them what they need there in that engagement.
Because Houston is just such a sports city. We care about sports so much. And if you bring in a guy like June Jones, like Wade Phillips, heck, even AJ Smith. I'd love to have AJ Smith back.
Yeah.
People will notice.
Yep.
Fans notice that. We have such a long history, especially of football in this city. Bring at least one of them back, get some interest going. People were going out last year to see Wade Phillips's return. I know I was, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I went to NFL games as media, and that was my number one asked question was, how's Wade? I see he's coming out of retirement to do this. It's crazy. That was a talking point for a lot of individuals, that and the hub system.
Mm-hmm.
XFL Mike G said, jump on the Brahmas bandwagon already. And then Jackie said, come to the Brahmas side. We got cookies.
Oh, man. Hey, I'm cheering for y'all in the playoffs. I'm cheering for San Antonio. Because, look, I love San Antonio. Arlington is a different story. The Dallas-Houston rivalry, I can't cheer for Arlington. But San Antonio, I got y'all. I'm cheering for y'all.
Tell me before we roll off and move on, what's the rivalry? What's it behind? How did it even start? Can you give me any kind of background information in it?
We don't like them. We don't like them. We don't like Dallas. They're preppy. They're snobby. Houston's where the hard workers are, where the Roughnecks are. This is where it's done. So we don't like those snobby sports fans up in Dallas, and it especially since the Astros lost to the Rangers most recently. Whew, this rivalry is hotter than ever. So I will never cheer for the Renegades, even though I love Luis Perez. But I go Brahmas in this playoffs. I'm cheering for them.
I love it, dude. I love it so much. That's the best take you can give. You didn't say anything bad, but you didn't say anything good either. It wasn't right, nice and neutral.
Yeah.
KJ said Houston is blue collar. Dallas was always known as the white collar city.
Yes, sir.
So I'm not from Texas, so I don't know these things. Roy said Jared Horton should get a chance to run a team. His deal on the Maulers was amazing. I have a feeling we'll see him, if not next year, the year after for sure.
Yeah,
that's a name that there's going to be a few of these names that'll come back. They're not going to say no when asked. This is their thing.
That'd be a great option for this team. I'd love to have Jared Horton. Way too talented to not get a spot in a league like this.
Yep. There's a lot of guys, man. That's cool about this next year. Once they see it's off the ground, we're rolling. Come on and join the team. UFL, baby.
Yes, sir.
Well, Cullen, you got anything else before we roll on?
Go Roughnecks. Go Roughnecks.
Roughneck Nation, baby. Yeah, check in. I'm gonna schedule some guys from the Roughnecks for interviews as long as they can get approval. I'll have some of them on within the next probably 2 to 3 weeks. Because like some of those guys, man, I'm super impressed, especially how they haven't let up all year. Some of them started as second and thirds and have worked their way into first. So super, super, super pumped for the Roughneck team in terms of the defensive side of the ball. And hopefully they make those changes in the offseason like we've talked about.
Yep. So we just need a few more changes, and that's it.
Yep. Just a few more. That's what they always say. Cullen, man, I appreciate you guys. Check out Rough 'em Up Podcast. We'll have the link in the show notes. Had it rolling at the bottom as well through a lot of this interview. Appreciate you, Cullen, man. If you need anything, you reach out, give me a shout. Yeah, I probably won't be in Houston again until next year, of course, but definitely will hit you up, see what you're up to.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Matthew.
Thank you, Cullen. Have a good night, man.
You too.
All right. Appreciate that guest spot and Cullen. Been trying to talk with him for a while now. I'm glad we could finally get together. It's super cool guy. He's a college student there in Houston. One of the few that you can talk to about this stuff, and he'll give you some honest answers. He's not doing it just for personal gain or anything like that. I mean, he's doing it for the love as well. Rough 'em Up Podcast, guys. Check it out. Not sure if I have an episode coming in this week since the season is over for the Roughnecks. But anywho, not much going now. We're going to talk about the Week 11 games. Not going to break them down. May try to have an episode breaking the games down soon. My thing is like I said, I'll be traveling and I'll be gone for much of the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to have to fit it in somewhere randomly. May end up trying to do it somewhere. We'll see what happens. So Saturday, June 8th, Michigan Panthers take on the Birmingham Stallions again. This time it's for keeps. 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern on ABC. I will be present for that game, so check social media for videos, pictures, and comments. I haven't been to a game since week 2, so I'm pretty excited to roll out. Also applied for the championship game, just waiting on that. Hopefully that comes through as well. If I can get that approval, I'll be heading to St. Louis for that also. All right, our next game, Sunday, June 9th, the San Antonio Brahmas take on the St. Louis Battlehawks. That game's at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern on Fox. It should be another great matchup for these two teams. Expect St. Louis to come rowdy. I'm sure they're going to fill that stadium. I'm going to say, let's go with like 38,000. It's probably what I'm going to guess that. I haven't even looked at the ticket sales to see how they were doing, so I'm not really sure, honestly. But, I mean, so far they've done a decent job filling that stadium. Their team makes it to the championship, you can bet the stadium's going to be full as well. I'm excited for both of these games. I think both of them are going to be great games. It's probably going to come down to the wire. I do not see the Stallions just whipping the Panthers, and I also do not see the Battlehawks whipping the Brahmas. I mean, it's going to go back and forth. Hopefully we'll see some things we haven't seen yet so they can try to, get the dub. I'm excited for these games. It sucks that it's the end of the season. It really went fast on us, guys. So, yeah, make sure you watch and support. As far as the show, that's all I got. Like I said, I really don't like doing the super long episodes unless we have to. Sorry about the mute situation. It's going to happen sometimes. I don't know. Things happen. And yeah, with everything I'm clicking over here and interacting, trying to stay vigilant. Uh-oh. Trey Colback, remember it's now CFL season. Yes, sir. Speaking of that, we'll be trying to post more CFL news and updates and things as we go. It's just got to transition into that now that the UFL is over. Royce, home field advantage will be huge this weekend. Both good games, though. Yes, I agree. It'll definitely be huge there in St. Louis. I'm curious to see how the attendance numbers are in Birmingham when I get there. And I really want to get on the ground and kind of see what that number looks like in person to get it right in my head. When I watch it on TV, it's just hard to gauge it in Birmingham, in my opinion. It's hard to tell how many are in there. So looking forward to getting on the ground, doing some legwork. There's a bunch of great people that do media stuff there, so get to meet them and talk to them as well. Excited about that. Like I said, guys, check in on social media for the next episode schedule date. It's kind of up in the air right now with not having the full week's breakdown. We don't have, it's not as significant. May try to have an episode to discuss this divisional game coming up and just kind of see what plays out from there. Appreciate the support. If you're watching, listening, commenting, sharing, whatever, following, thank you. It's always appreciated. We do it for the love, and that's all we got. Love and passion, baby. Want to say thanks to UFL board. Appreciate you and all the relationship we have. We have a really good partnership. Mark's a good person to talk to as well. He knows a lot of information related to these leagues and the history of these leagues also. So that's Mark Nelson at UFLboard.com. Special thanks to the UFL. Appreciate you letting me cover the league this season. It's been a pleasure as always. It was just as fun as last year. Didn't get to do as much traveling, but with that, did a lot more in the background, a lot more of so much work that, yeah. It's probably good I wasn't traveling because I wouldn't have been able to be consistent in things at home. So it all worked out well. It's been a great season. Let's come in strong, UFL fans, for this postseason push. Even if your team doesn't make it, remember it's for the good of the league. Everything benefits everyone at this point. And, I'm sure that most people are going to be watching these games if they've watched all season. Why wouldn't you? The two back-to-back games are a little redundant, but then at the same time, it's not, because these are great teams. There's history there. They've played each other multiple times now. I don't know. It'll be a good match. And see what each kind of scheme up for the other. All right. That's it for me. Check in, like I said, social media for the next episode. Thanks again for watching and listening. Do me a favor and like the page if you haven't on whatever platform you're listening. I appreciate it greatly. Appreciate all the guys for coming on from AFN. It's been a week to week thing with who comes on and who kind of breaks down games, and everybody's kind of done their own thing, and I appreciate it. It looks really good. I feel like everyone involved in the AFN scope has learned a lot, and we've done a lot. I don't know. I appreciate you guys greatly. This podcast has been a success from everyone involved. You know, I don't like to be just the guy on here talking the whole time. It's not what I want to do. I want to get other people that limelight to show off what they know, because I don't know everything. Yep, that's it for me. Be good. Take it easy till next time. Don't forget UFL playoffs this weekend. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for listening. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Go hard, go home, go hard, go hard, go home, go hard, go hard, go home, go hard, go hard, go home. Touchdown like an end zone. When the circle turn to my home, can't get me out of my zone. Go hard, go hard, go